Hello everyone, I'm going to be filming everything I watched in February 2025. I know it's the 7th of March today. I'm not going to be like this through the whole year, I promise. I'm going to get better. This is what's happening, so let's... Yay, that's better. Hello, I'm Lydia and I'm Film Probe, and I want to start logging everything that I've watched in 2025 because I'm really on it this year and I'm watching loads of new stuff. So I've done January. Go watch that video if you're interested to see what I watched. This video is February 2025. Now, I watched a lot of movies in February 2025, okay? I watched more than January. I'm really proud of myself this month. I almost watched a movie a day in February. I watched 27 movies. I'm almost irritated I didn't watch 28 because it would have been so much cooler to say I watched a movie every day. But I watched 27 movies, which I'm pretty impressed with myself for watching that many. I also watched some new TV, not as much as January. I watched 4 new TV shows in February 2025, and that's not including It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Seinfeld, The US Office. I also really want to show off my brand new hat. I don't know if you care about this, but I'm kind of freaking out about it because it's the best hat in the world. SNL. It's like a special 50th anniversary hat. Just saying. Anyway, let's get into it. Yeah. Let's start now. So the way that I want to rate the movies this month, so in January I kind of went through everything slowly and spoke about each film individually and gave you my rating. I feel like that's not fun for you and it's a bit too long because I watched so many movies this month, so I want to do it in genres. So the first genre I'm going to start with is comedy, or better yet, what I like to call crappy comedy. It's like a sub-genre of comedy that I've completely made up myself. And the 2 movies I'm going to include in crappy comedy are You're Cordially Invited and Kind of Pregnant. And they were okay. That's a lie. They were crappy. So You're Cordially Invited is a movie that came out on Amazon Prime at the beginning of the month. It stars Reese Witherspoon and Will Ferrell. Basically, the story in a nutshell is 2 families who book the same wedding venue on the same weekend, completely by accident, and they both turn up on this weekend and they have to share the wedding venue. It was fun, it was silly, it made me chuckle a few times. I'm a really big fan of Reese Witherspoon and I really love Will Ferrell, so it was an easy watch from start to end. It was silly and fun. And I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. So kind of bottom of the barrel vibe, but not as bad as Kind of Pregnant. It stars Amy Schumer. In a nutshell, the story is a woman whose best friend is having a baby, and it seems like everyone around her is having kids, so she pretends that she's pregnant, basically, and gets into this whole spiral of lies, pretending that she's pregnant. I'm not a fan of Amy Schumer or her comedy style. I genuinely don't find her funny. So this film was really, really hard to watch. I gave it half a star. It deserved no stars, but I felt bad giving it no stars, so I gave it half a star because Adam Sandler was a producer on it and I love Adam Sandler, so I gave him half a star just to be nice. But yeah, this movie was really bad. And I would not recommend it. I honestly, my Letterboxd review just said, don't waste your time. It's time you'll never get back. Spend it doing something more productive because the film was trash. So sadly, starting the February with crappy comedy is not a good start, but we're moving swiftly on to romance. Yay! So the romantic movies I watched in February 2025 were Queer, Baby Girl, Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy, La Chimera? Is that how you pronounce it? I'll start with Queer. So this is Luca Guadagnino's movie Queer. Came out last year. It stars Daniel Craig, and it was a really beautiful depiction of this surrealist relationship. If you're familiar with Luca Guadagnino's other movies, I'm a really big fan of him as a director. He visually has such a gorgeous way of exploring relationships and identity and love. And I felt like Queer was really stunning and aesthetically beautiful to watch. The story is essentially Daniel Craig's character who is in Italy and meets this younger man and has a kind of really intense relationship with him, and the two of them fall in love with each other, but it isn't as simple as that. That's the basis of the story, but it's got so many surrealist elements to it as well. This film confused me. By the end of it, I was quite stunned by it. I didn't really know how to take the film, so I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. So the film was very linear to me. It was kind of one note. Even though it was stunning to watch, and I'm a big fan of Luca Guadagnino, it wasn't his best feature. And I've been really looking forward to watching Queer, so I was a bit sad that I didn't love it more than I did. But it's a beautiful film, and I think if you're a Guadagnino fan, you should watch it. If you're a Daniel Craig fan, you should watch it. He's brilliant in it. But if you're looking for a really lovely romance, this is not the film for you. It's surrealist and a bit chaotic and a bit strange at times, like the way that the story goes. So it's not your conventional romance, is all I'll say. The next film I watched was Baby Girl. This film stars Nicole Kidman, and I went to the cinema to watch this movie, and I was in the cinema like, what am I watching? This is crazy. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because I wasn't expecting it to be as dirty as it was. I know with a name like Baby Girl, people probably expected it to go a certain way. I wasn't expecting that. It felt unnecessary. I don't know how I feel about Baby Girl. I wrote a really cohesive review for Baby Girl, so please go read that on my website or on Instagram, because I got all my thoughts in one place and I felt like I conveyed what I was feeling about this film really well. Essentially, half of me is really in love with this film and thinks, yes, empower women, make women feel, confident. Female sexuality is completely ignored and diminished on screen and in Hollywood in general. So I really commended Baby Girl for that. I thought, yes, and to have an actress like Nicole Kidman be so vulnerable on screen and to bring a character like that to life was brilliant. I thought Nicole Kidman was amazing. But the other half of me was very much like, why? Why did we need this film? Am I supposed to feel empowered by this film as a woman? Because I didn't. I felt embarrassed by it, if anything. I thought it was just too much of the sex and not enough story. Like it felt like it wasn't developed enough. And the thing that irritated me the most about Baby Girl was there was no consequence. If you've seen the film, you'll understand what I mean. But if you haven't, in a nutshell, the story is this woman who's the boss of this company. She's like high up in this company, and an intern comes in and they have this flirty, heated relationship, and they have this crazy affair, like this high stakes relationship the whole time. It's like, oh, is he going to tell? Is he going to tell? What's going to happen? And then at the end, nothing happens. So her husband finds out, but he stays with her. And it seems like people in the company find out, but nothing happens. And it just, I don't know, it feels like all of this high stakes, the whole movie, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? It's almost like thrilling to some extent. And then the end is so flat and nothing happens. And I was a bit disappointed with that. So I can get over the intimate scenes and the long, awkward kind of scenes. But if there's a payoff, if it's worth all of my time, if I was watching those scenes and then something, happened at the end, great. There's one argument where people say it's like real life. Things like this happen all the time and people don't get their comeuppance, people don't get their consequence, and that's fine. But this is a movie, this isn't real life. I want to see consequence. So I was a bit irritated by Baby Girl, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. So it was okay. It was okay. I was expecting it to be amazing. The next romance I watched is Bridget Jones' Mad About a Boy. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars because I love Bridget Jones. I think Bridget Jones, Renee Zellweger is incredible, Hugh Grant is incredible, and the other actors who were in it, like new to the cast, were brilliant. I just love how British these movies are. I love the Bridget Jones movies. I'm biased. I know I am, because I love the character so much. I feel like people have grown with Bridget Jones. From the first movie, we've seen her go through so much, and this movie especially takes her through this whole different chapter in her life. And I thought it was really, really lovely and really fun and really silly and really easy to watch. And just simple, plain fun. So the next movie I watched was called La Chimera. I think I definitely pronounced that wrong at the beginning of the video. But La Chimera, I think I'm saying that right. Please don't make fun of me. Stars Josh O'Connor. I love Josh O'Connor. I think he's brilliant. For anyone who doesn't know him, he was in Challengers, that movie with Zendaya. I think he's brilliant. I don't know, he has this really amazing power, and I just think he's great to watch. Maybe I fancy him a little bit, I don't know, but I think he's amazing, and to be honest, that's the only reason that I put on this movie. And then I realised it was directed by Alice Rawalker, and please, I swear on my life, I hope to God I'm saying that right. I'll be so mortified if I'm saying that wrong. It's set in Italy, so it was really gorgeous to watch. It was a really funny movie. It was very monotone the whole time. Like, the comedy was very intelligent. It was very subtle. I really enjoyed that about it. And it was also a very profound movie. Like, not a lot happened in it, but it had all of these intense themes thrown into it: life, death, meaning, hopes, like what are we doing here, what am I doing here? And I liked it. It was simple on paper, looked incredibly beautiful on the screen, and I liked it. It was easy to watch. It was just fun, and yeah, I liked it. I'm also now realising that I put this in the romantic section, and it wasn't romantic at all. It was a comedy. So sorry about that. But the next, I've also put this in the wrong category too. So I'm going to move on to comedies now. So the other comedy that I watched this month in February 2025 was called The Cowboy and the Frenchman. This movie came out in 1988 and it was directed by David Lynch. It was a short film. I scrolled upon it and just thought, David Lynch, like, the man has sadly passed away. I need to watch this. I've never heard of it. Let's watch it. And it was really funny. Like, it hasn't aged particularly well, I will be honest. So this isn't perfect, this film. It had some jokes which, like I said, haven't aged too well, but it was really funny. It made me laugh out loud at points. And I just love that David Lynch directed it. I think watching it now kind of through rose-tinted glasses, loving David Lynch's work, I could just imagine him behind the camera, and it just made me love it even more. It was, the opening scene, right? If I can try and describe this to you, is these cowboys looking up at a hill, and there's a man coming down the hill, and he's holding a briefcase and he's all frantic, and it's going to the music, and every time he falls, the music stops. And every time he gets up again, the music starts. And he falls about 5 or 6 times, and it doesn't sound funny, but there's something about the way that it's shot and the type of music, it genuinely had me laughing out loud. It was brilliant. It was silly, it was fun, it was unexpected, and I loved it. And I loved it so much. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was just really funny and unexpected. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was great. So the next genre I'm going to go into is coming of age. So to my categorization, I watched 2 coming of age movies this month, and I watched How to Have Sex, which came out in 2023, and I watched After Sun, which came out in 2022. After Sun is a 5 out of 5 movie. I'll just put that out there now, okay? After Sun is a beautiful, beautiful movie, and talking about it could bring me to tears now because it's so moving and so well done. It stars Paul Mescal, and it's just so lovely. The story, for anyone who hasn't seen it, and I highly recommend you do, so I won't tell you much about it. It's about a young girl, Sophie, and her dad on holiday together. The film is kind of Sophie reliving this holiday she had with her dad when she was a kid. But it's a father-daughter relationship. That's what that film is about. And it's really, really gorgeous and moving and sweet and sad and just unforgettable. And the other film I watched in the coming-of-age genre is called How to Have Sex. This film was unexpected completely. I remember reading about this film when it came out. And it's basically a story of 3 British girls going on holiday, like a girls' holiday, drinking, having fun, meeting people, that kind of vibe. It's like this British rite of passage that, you go on this holiday with all of your mates and you get drunk and you have a laugh. The story is not as lighthearted as I've just made it out to be. About halfway through becomes quite dark and sad. And you can maybe assume the themes that happen, but I will say that this film could be upsetting to some viewers. I would say the film is really funny and the actors in it are brilliant. They're so realistic. It's almost like they plucked them out of, high school and were like, yes, you're perfect. Like, come and be in this film, because they just feel so believable in these roles. You know, I wasn't expecting it to go the route it did. And as a young woman, I really resonated with the film. I thought it was really, really well done, really realistic, incredibly in tune, if that makes sense. It just felt real. Like, the film was good. I know that's a shit review. I'm sorry, that saying the film was good is really, like, boring to say, but the film was just good. I had very little notes, and I thought it was brilliant. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I know I just said that I had very little faults with it, but the only reason I didn't give it 5 out of 5, for me personally, it isn't a film I'm going to go back to and watch again. And usually when I give something 5 out of 5, it's because I want to go back to it and I want to watch it again, and it's something that has stayed with me. And although this movie had an impact and I enjoyed it and I would recommend it to you, I wouldn't necessarily go back and watch it over and over again. Okay, so a few more comedies that I watched in February include Strange Way of Life, which came out in 2023, Frances Ha, which came out in 2012, and The Worst Person in the World, that came out in 2021. One of these movies is a rewatch. Frances Ha is a rewatch. That movie is a 5 out of 5. It's incredible. I love it. As a woman who is in my mid to late 20s, this film just hits right. This film is perfect. It stars Greta Gerwig and I just love it. It's a very, very simple story of a young woman who is 27 and she just doesn't know what she's doing with her life. That is the story. There's not much more to it than that. It's really, really funny, and there are some really awkward moments, and it's mundane and it's monotone and it's shot in black and white. I just love it. I just love the question of, what am I doing? I love the exploration of, what am I supposed to be doing? Why is everyone doing that and I'm not doing that? Why is everyone getting married and having kids and I'm doing this? I think this film is incredible. And obviously in February I was feeling a little bit lost with my identity, because I watched Frances Ha, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars, and then I watched The Worst Person in the World, which I hadn't seen yet. And I know that everyone talks about this movie and everyone loves this movie, and I hadn't got round to it. And I gave it 5 out of 5 stars because that movie was amazing. I loved it so much. And it's very similar themes to Frances Ha. Frances Ha, I don't know how you say it. But very similar themes in the idea of this main woman, this main character is, 29, turning 30, and she doesn't know what she's doing with her life. She's lost. She has no meaning. She has no identity. She doesn't know who she is. The whole film, you're watching her jump from career to career, from boyfriend to boyfriend, and she just doesn't know what she's doing. And she's happy being that person, but she also feels this secret mystery pressure of, maybe I should be doing this. Maybe I should be an adult now. And I just loved it. I thought it was so amazing. This is a Norwegian film, by the way, so you do watch it with subtitles, but that makes no difference to me whatsoever. The acting performances are incredible. And I don't know, I think I identify with it in some way, and I feel seen in this weird way, similar to Frances Ha, when it's like, you're watching a character and you just think, someone wrote this and I feel like I get it. It's such a beautiful feeling when you're watching a movie and you identify with it, you relate to it, you feel like you're in that world. And that's how I felt watching both of those movies, and I gave them perfect scores. I highly recommend them both. Like I said, they're both very simple films, not a lot happens. They both end and it's kind of like, that's the end. But I think that's the beauty of these films, is that they are simple and they are a depiction of a side of life where we never see it in Hollywood. Young women in Hollywood are always thriving, and they're always beautiful, and they always know what they want to do, and they're headstrong and they're independent. And not all women, not all people, not just women, not all people are like that. A lot of people don't know what they're doing. And I think it's so refreshing to watch films which depict that side of life, because that side of life is way more prominent than the fake, I know what I'm doing, I'm headstrong, I'm confident, I'm this. So I love these films and I recommend them so much to anyone, but particularly if you're in your 20s or if you're in your 30s as well. Like, I think these films will speak to you and you'll watch them and you'll be like, oh, it's like a warm hug. These films are like a warm hug and I love them so much. So the other movie I watched, which I mentioned, called The Strange Way of Life. This was another short film. So this short was directed by Pedro Almodovar, and if you know him as a director, I'm a really big fan of his work. I think he's really cool. He's a very quirky director, and this film stars Pedro Pascal, who I'm a very big fan of. Love you, Ped. So I'm a very big fan of Pedro, and also Ethan Hawke, who I adore. And can you believe that there is a movie out there where Pedro Pascal and Ethan Hawke fall in love with one another? Okay, boom. Some of you might not be happy about that. I couldn't believe my eyes. When I saw this film come up, I was like, oh my God, I have to watch this. And it blew my mind. It was crazy tense and raw and like manly, just love. And it was also it was very much Pedro's style of that intense love affair, and it was really colourful and bright, and it almost felt like a comic book. It was Western. It had all these themes all mushed into one another. I thought it was really, really cool. It was only half an hour long, so like I said, it is a short film. And I just personally love Pedro's vision. He uses bold, saturated colour, and intricate, detailed set design, along with his like very playful and engaging characters. Like I said, Pedro and Ethan Hawke, like you couldn't ask for more of a dream duo, because both actors are so capable and you could just throw anything at them and they can just deliver like high quality performances and chemistry with one another as well. Oh. And if you love these two actors like I do, you have to watch it. That was the main reason I watched this film, is because I love both actors and I love the film. And I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. So yeah, it was pretty good. So the next genre I'm going into is drama. And even though I use drama as like a category title for this area, there are a few films that have like other categories too. So for instance, I watched Under the Silver Lake. That's also got comedy and thriller elements, but I thought it was mostly a drama, so I put it in this area. I also watched Casino. I also watched Horde. Also watched Plastic Semiotic. Bizarre. I watched Mean Streets, Martin Scorsese. I watched Reality Plus. I watched Bird. I watched I'm Still Here. I watched Perfect Days, and I watched Conclave. So let's rate them all. So Under the Silver Lake stars Andrew Garfield. It came out in 2021. When I was watching this movie, it was fun, it was okay, it was engaging. I love Andrew Garfield. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and I just felt like this film was a cult classic waiting to happen. It didn't really hit me like I thought it would. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, and I wouldn't really recommend it to everyone in my life. Only people who really love movies. I'd say, yeah, give Under the Silver Lake a go, because it was odd. It wasn't the easiest thing to watch, but like I said, I feel like give it 10 years and people will be raving about this movie. I also watched Casino for the first time. Okay, I'm sorry, I'd never seen it before. Came out in 1995, Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese is one of my favourite directors. Goodfellas is one of my favourite films, and it always will be, okay? And I'd never seen Casino. Sorry, forgive me. But I knew that it was time to watch this movie, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I was expecting to give it 5 out of 5 stars, but I was also scared that I wouldn't enjoy it, but no. Casino's a perfect movie, and I feel like Scorsese just, everything he does I love. And Casino wasn't just a really entertaining, thrilling movie with intense action and gore and thrill and mystery and crime. It was also a fashion show, okay? Now, to any of my girlies who love fashion, Casino's the movie where I wish I could wear all of the clothes from that movie. It was incredible. Like, Robert De Niro is incredible. Joe Pesci is incredible. Sharon Stone is incredible. It's become one of my favourite movies. Like, I loved it so much. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend it, but you probably have. So now I'm finally on the bandwagon of the Casino love. Finally made it, guys. The next movie I watched was called Horde. Now, I watched this movie because Joseph Quinn was in it. And for anyone who doesn't know Joseph Quinn, he played Eddie Munson in Stranger Things. He's kind of blown up as an actor. And I just thought, I'll give it a go because I like him. I think he's a great actor. It was a really good film. It was really interesting. It reminded me of Andrea Arnold. For anyone who knows her as a director, she loves to tell very gritty British stories, and it felt like one of her films, and I love her work, so I did really enjoy it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't as good as Andrea Arnold's films, but it felt like it was a director who loved her work and wanted to do something similar. If somebody said, "Oh, have you seen Horde?" I'd say, yeah, it was really good, but have you seen Fish Tank? Or have you seen, Bird? Those are 2 Andrea Arnold movies. So I would always say watch her movies instead, which I know isn't really a review, but it's just like it was. I've seen films do that kind of story better, is all I'm trying to say. I watched a short movie called Plastic Semiotic. This was on Mubi and it just came up and I thought, I've got time to kill, I'll watch that. It was like a movie of a load of pictures of toys depicting different societal moments, snapshots of history and society and politics and political kind of moments. It was really interesting. It was like an art piece. I felt like I'd walked into a museum and this was playing, It was very interesting. It's a side of cinema that I never really opened myself up to because I find it a little bit pretentious sometimes. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to the general consumer of cinema. It was a little bit too weird and a little bit too political in that sense. But I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I genuinely thought it was interesting. And some of the images that they were recreating or some of the kind of toy scenes could be pictures on a wall. They were so interesting to look at and so cool. The next film I watched, I was on a Martin Scorsese streak in February. I watched Mean Streets, which shocker, gave 5 out of 5 stars. This was one of Scorsese's first movies and it stars a really young Robert De Niro. It's set in New York and it's essentially what Martin Scorsese does best: crime families and crime friendships and young guys, moving through the city, mafia adjacent, all those kinds of things. It was good. I really enjoyed it. I loved Johnny Boy as a character, which was Robert De Niro's character. He was such a comic relief, so irritatingly lovable, like such an idiot of a character, but God, I love him. I thought it was good. It wasn't as good as Goodfellas or Casino, but I still loved it and I still enjoyed it. And I gave it 5 out of 5 because, sure, maybe I'm biased because I love Scorsese, so I gave it 5 out of 5. It's one I recommend if you love Scorsese. It's one I recommend if you love De Niro. I love watching stories about New York and gangsters and crime. It's something I love. I love movies about crime. So I loved it. Not a good review, but that's my commentary. Next, I watched a short film called Reality Plus. It was a movie I stumbled upon on Mubi and saw that Coralie directed it, who is the director of The Substance. I feel like everyone knows The Substance, but if you don't, it's one of the best movies I watched in the whole of 2024. Just saying, it was incredible. Anyway, I put this on, it was on Mubi, and it's basically the prequel to The Substance. And by that I mean it's Coralie showing what she can do. in this movie. So it's kind of her little glimpse into what the substance could be. And then obviously she went on to make the substance. So it's really cool to watch the substance and then go back to Reality Plus. So essentially it's a short film, it's 22 minutes long, so it's really easy to watch, about people in the future who have this chip in their brain where they're able to appear beautiful, or the idea of beauty, to the world. And then when the chip runs out, they're back to their normal self again. But they are seen by the world as this perfect idea of themselves. So it's exactly like the substance, but a really interesting way of doing it. And it was high tech. The themes of her movies are so interesting. I think as a director and as a creative, she is so intelligent, and I love her work so far. I can't wait to see what she does next. And yeah, Reality Plus was really, really interesting. I'm so glad I saw it, because it felt like I got even more clarity on how good the substance is by watching this. So I highly recommend it to anyone who enjoys her work or enjoyed the substance and you want something of a similar nature. This short film was so interesting. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was so good. So the next film I watched was Bird. This was an Andrea Arnold film, so I was talking about Andrea Arnold earlier. As a Brit, I love Andrea Arnold. I think she showcases a side of the UK and a side of the world that you rarely see on screen. A very real side of the world. A working class side, and Bird in particular was such a brilliant movie. It moved me, it upset me, it made me laugh. I thought it was, she's just so good as a director. She just has such good vision. She really puts you as a fly on the wall in these scenarios. So you feel like you're watching something that you shouldn't be watching. You feel like it's almost a documentary, like you are seeing these real people. Barry Keoghan plays one of the characters in this film, and I kept forgetting it was him, because he was so tattooed up and so embodied this character. It was just so good. Even having a person of his fame in this film, Andrea was still able to bring him back down to earth, and his image didn't affect it at all. I think Andrea Arnold is a authentic director. She's able to capture this essence of British society that, like I said, I feel like not many other directors are able to do as well as she's done. She shares the unglamorous side of life and humanity, and she just depicts the harsh reality of the mundane, the harsh reality of everyday life, that life isn't as glamorous as movies make it out to be. Life is actually sometimes really hard and quite boring. And I think she is able to bring in this idea of even the smallest thing can be the most interesting. It's a heartbreakingly poetic piece of cinema about life, family, relationships, growing up, learning about yourself, changing. The cast, like I said, the cast is all really realistic. I just loved it. I thought it was really, really good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And I thought it was, I think maybe part of me as a Brit is able to understand her commentary on British life a little bit more. But I'd love to know what anyone from the other side of the world, like anyone from anywhere else who doesn't live in the UK, what do you think of her films? And what do you think of her as a director? Does it resonate? Does it move you? Because I always feel like when you're watching something from your home, it hits you that much harder. But ironically, I'm gonna move straight on to a movie called I'm Still Here, and this is a Brazilian movie, and it won Best International Feature at the Oscars. Yes. But I know that Brazilians are incredibly proud of this film, as you should be, because it was an absolutely beautiful film. I'm moving swiftly on. But what I was saying about the irony is that Brazilians feel very strongly about I'm Still Here, but I watched it and I felt everything. I felt every ounce of this movie. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I wish I could give it 6 out of 5, 7 out of 5, 8 out of 5. I loved it. It was incredible. I don't want to go into it too much because I wrote such a beautiful review about it, and I feel like I got everything in that I wanted to say. But what I will say is that Fernanda Torres is absolutely incredible. She's one of the best actresses I've ever seen. And I know that sounds like a lie, but she is. She could outshine so many actors that we know off the stage, like in seconds. She's just a powerhouse. She was really living that film. She was really living that character. And I believed every ounce of her pain. The film upset me. I was crying. I was laughing. The film had so many beautiful jokes tied into all the tragedy. I understand why Brazil are so proud of this film, as they should be, because it is gorgeous, and I really hope that more people from across the world get a chance to watch it. If you're somebody watching this video right now and you haven't seen I'm Still Here yet, forget all the other films I've mentioned, and this is the one that I recommend to you the most. For anyone who doesn't know the story of I'm Still Here, it's set in the early 1970s, and it's about the military dictatorship in Brazil during that time and how it affected the people. It's a real story, by the way. Real story, true people, real family. That's what really resonated with me, is when I realised how real this film was. But it tells the story of a real woman whose husband disappeared during this dictatorship and her fighting to find out what happened to him. If I had to pick 3 words to describe this film, it would be powerful, moving, and unforgettable. Just wow. Watch it. The next film I watched was called Perfect Days. This film came out in 2023. This is a really sweet, simple Japanese story about a man called Hirayama, and he is just enjoying life. I think the simplest way of describing Perfect Days is that it's about a man who just lives his life to the fullest and enjoys the simple things. He loves music, he loves taking photos, he just loves being him, and it's a very simple movie. There's not much story to it, but it's really sweet and it's lovely to watch, and the soundtrack is amazing. I will say the main thing I took away from this was me and Hirayama would be best friends because we have the same music taste. This is a story about Hirayama and just him, and if you're able to watch it and fall in love with him as a character, which I was able to, the film's very easy to watch. I think if you don't really care about him, there will be a disconnect and you won't be able to enjoy the film, but it's very simple. It's a very easy film to watch. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was just lovely. And then the last drama I watched was Conclave. I loved it. Spoiler, I loved it. I loved Conclave. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was so good, okay? Now, I was not on the bandwagon with Conclave. It won a load of BAFTAs, and everyone was like, this is a joke, like, it doesn't deserve all these BAFTAs, and I hadn't seen it at that point. Straight after the BAFTAs, I was like, I've got to watch this film now. Everyone's talking about it. It deserved all those BAFTAs, okay? I'm going to say it. It was brilliant. That film was brilliant. The performance, the set design, the sound, the music was amazing. The directing, the editing, everything. Conclave was brilliant. Now, as coming from somebody who didn't really know much about the conclave, I didn't know much about the ceremony, about how they decide on a new pope. I didn't know anything about it. So I found that getting to have a look inside one of the most secretive events in the world was so eye-opening and so interesting and engaging and new. I loved it. And I also loved that even though that was enough for me, so seeing inside the conclave and seeing the political side of those decisions was also this mystery thriller. The idea of all of these, cardinals going against each other and using each other and tearing each other down. I just thought it was brilliant. It was like bitchy, it was sassy, but it was also really thrilling, and I didn't know what was going to happen. The twist ending was incredible. I honestly thought this movie was so good. And as I look back on it and as I'm talking about it now, I think maybe it could have been 5 out of 5 stars. Maybe I enjoyed it that much. But I'm going to stick with what I gave it at the time, and I gave it 4 out of 5. But I loved it. I thought it was so interesting and unique, and I've never seen a film like that before. And the thing that I was taken back by the most, aside from like the costumes and the sounds and the music, was the set design. They like basically built the Vatican. It's incredible. It's so good. Watch I'm Still Here and then watch Conclave. So we're getting down to the final few movies that I watched this month, and this category is horror. So if you don't like horror movies, maybe you don't want to watch these next ones. But what I will say is the first movie I'm going to talk about, called The Girl with the Needle, would not be described as a horror to a lot of people. But to me, it was horrifying, okay? It would probably be described as a thriller, crime, drama. It was horrifying, okay? The film is set in post-World War I Copenhagen, and it's a story of a young woman called Caroline, and she has a very, very hard life. She struggles, okay? And the actress who played her was breathtaking. Absolutely amazing performance. Wow. Loved it. Loved her. She kept this film together. Basically, she's working in a factory at the beginning of this film, and she has a relationship with the head guy in this factory and ends up falling pregnant. And sadly, he then leaves her, and she's stuck in this awkward position, and she doesn't know what to do with this pregnancy. And I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to tell you what happens with this film, just in case you do want to go watch it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, so it was definitely an amazing film. But I call it a horror because it was so disturbing. And the theme of this film was very disturbing and hard to watch at times. Harmful themes towards babies, basically. So it's not an easy film to watch. But it was very, very good. It was very well executed. It was, by that I mean, it was shot very well. It was edited beautifully. The performances were incredible, like I said. It was all shot in black and white. So it felt like I was watching an old film, but it came out in 2024. The way that it was shot was really, really good and really, really unique. But yeah, I struggled with the themes. I struggled with some of the themes. It was very intense and very sad. It had me very upset at one point. But yeah, I recommend it. Of course I recommend it, but I think not everyone would enjoy this film because the themes are so heavy. So just bear that in mind. That's why I put it in the horror section, because it's horrifying and quite horrible to watch. So the next 2 movies I watched in the horror category, the first one is called Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person. Now, very long title for a movie. Hilarious movie, though. I love anything to do with vampires, so I was straight on this film when I saw it come up. It came out in 2023. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a really funny, simple movie about a young vampire who just cannot think about killing someone. She just can't do it. It is against everything in her being. But then she realizes that there are some humans who don't want to live anyway, so maybe she can use one of them. It's actually a really funny story. But I would say it's a horror because it has a bit of gore to it, and they are vampires, and it's quite dark, but it's also really light-hearted and full of jokes. But yeah, it was funny. It was kind of like a teen vampire movie as well, so it was young. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. And if you like vampires, it's definitely one you should tick off the list. And the last movie I watched in the horror genre was The Monkey. Slow clap for The Monkey. I loved The Monkey. I loved The Monkey. So I am a huge fan of Oz Perkins. I think he's incredible. I loved Longlegs. So he's becoming a director that I'm really, really starting to fall in love with him. I just think his work is brilliant. And The Monkey was amazing. I think a lot of people have come out of The Monkey and thought that was too funny, that was too ridiculous, too gory. No. I think when I hear people saying that, I'm like, lighten up. That film was hilarious and brilliant. And it was gory, very gory. So if you don't like gore, do not watch The Monkey, because it was like blood and guts everywhere. But it was really good. It's based on a Stephen King short story as well, I should say. So if you love Stephen King, you're gonna love this movie. Like, I love Stephen King and his stories are incredible. So this movie was brilliant. So basically the story is about these young boys, twins, brothers, obviously, who find this toy monkey in their dad's old possessions. It's a toy monkey and it's got like a pair of drumsticks and it bangs on a little drum and it's got a key that turns behind it. The prop of that monkey is like one of the best things I've ever seen. I wish I had that monkey. I want the monkey so bad. It's so cool. Anyway, I digress. The story is, when you turn the key and this monkey bangs his drums, he picks someone to kill. And even though you may think you have power over this monkey, you do not. He picks who he wants. I just thought it was hilarious and brilliant and silly and fun and quirky and gory and gross. It was my perfect horror film. I love horror films that make me laugh and make me gag at the same time. And I'm going to end on two really weird ones, but I'm not going to talk about them for too long because they are weird ones. I watched Grand Theft Hamlet. I put these in an animation category. So yeah, Grand Theft Hamlet, I gave 2 out of 5 stars. Would Shakespeare be proud of his... How do I even describe this? Would Shakespeare be proud that Hamlet was put into GTA and performed by avatars? I don't know, but I really loved the social experiment of it. I loved how different it was. I love the multimedia aspect of it. I love the fact that somebody even thought to do this. Bizarre, weird, great. And another film I watched in this animation category was called Asparagus. It came out in 1979. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Visually very cool to watch. Very interesting, surrealist animation. If I was a film teacher, I would have my students study asparagus because it was really interesting. I'm glad I've watched it. I'm glad I ticked it off the list. I love to challenge myself with watching movies that are bizarre and not necessarily something I would put on usually. Anyway, those are all the films I watched, so I hope that was interesting for you to listen to. And then I finished February on 0 Day, so I was on a very much a Robert De Niro kind of month in February because this show stars Robert De Niro. It's on Netflix. Really, really good. Now, if you love a gritty political crime drama, it's right up your alley. I really recommend this show. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It's basically about the former president of the US who is trying to enjoy his retirement and he can't because they need him. Things start to happen. The country is under like cyber threat and they need him to start investigating and help the country. So Robert De Niro is just perfect. He's just one of the greatest actors of all time. And I really do believe that. And I think that his face in this show had so much power. I never would have watched this show without him. It's a really good psychological, suspenseful thriller. And I don't want to say much more about that because it's brand new. So if you haven't seen 0 Day, I highly recommend you go and watch it. It's on Netflix and yeah, really, really good. So the films I gave 5 out of 5 stars this month were Frances Ha, The Worst Person in the World, Casino, Mean Streets, and I'm Still Here. Now, out of all of those films, easily the best film I watched this month was I'm Still Here. Easily the best film. Done. That was easy to say. That was easy. Yeah, that was definitely the best film I watched this month. My favourite as well. The one I recommend you the most, definitely. I also was wondering, part of me wants to do a video on the Academy and my thoughts on the Academy, even though I've shared quite a lot of my thoughts over on Instagram. I don't know if that's something people care about because the Academy Awards, I don't think they speak for the real community of film lovers. I think they speak for the elite. Obviously, I don't think that. I know that they speak for the elite. So part of me thinks, do people even care? Because I try not to care. I try to just get by and I'm happy with the people who won and I think it's great and I'm working towards the day of hopefully being in that room. I would love to talk about my views, but if people aren't interested, then I won't. Anyway, This was my February film log. This was everything I watched in February 2025. I know it's March. I'm catching up with myself. I'll be on time next time. But yeah, I've loved talking about these films. I hope that I recommended something to you. I hope that if you didn't agree with my thoughts, you can comment down below and let me know why. But yeah, I could ramble, I could talk so much. I'm gonna stop, but thank you so much for watching this, and please recommend me a film down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Lydia and I'm Film Probe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.